Neville Goddard, Lesson 4, No One to Change But Self, Lesson Excerpts. Consciousness is the one and only reality. We are incapable of seeing other than the contents of our own consciousness. Therefore, hate betrays us in the hour of victory and condemns us to be that which we condemn. All conquests result in an exchange of characteristics, so that conquerors become like the conquered foe. We hate others for the evil which is in ourselves. Race, nations, and religious groups have lived for centuries in intimate hostility, and it is in the nature of hatred, as it is the nature of love, to change us into the likeness of that which we contemplate. We radiate the world that surrounds us by the intensity of our imagination and feeling, but in this third-dimensional world of ours, time beats slowly, and so we do not always observe the relationship of the visible world to our inner nature. You and I can contemplate an ideal and become it by falling in love with it. On the other hand, we can contemplate something we heartily dislike, and by condemning it, we will become it. But because of the slowness of time in this three-dimensional world, when we do become what we contemplated, we have forgotten that formerly we set out to worship or destroy it. Man is always looking for some prop on which to lean. He is always looking for some excuse to justify failure. His concept of himself is the cause of all the circumstances of his life. All changes must first come from within himself, and if he does not change on the outside, it is because he has not changed within. But man does not like to feel that he is solely responsible for the conditions of his life. I may not like what I have just heard, that I must turn to my own consciousness as to the own reality, the only foundation on which all phenomena can be explained. It was easier living when I could blame another. It was much easier living when I could blame society for my ills, or point a finger across the sea and blame another person. It was easier living when I could blame the weather for the way I feel. But to tell me that I am the cause of all that happens to me, that I am forever molding my world in harmony with my inner nature, that is more than man is willing to accept. If this is true, to whom would I go? If these are the words of eternal life, I must return to them, even though they seem so difficult to digest. When a man fully understands this, he knows that public opinion does not matter, for men only tell him who he is. The behavior of men constantly tell me who I have conceived myself to be. It is impossible for anything to be lost. It is impossible for anything to be lost. In this divine economy nothing can be lost. It cannot even pass away. The little flower which has bloomed once blooms forever. It is invisible to you here with your limited focus, but it blooms forever in the larger dimension of your being, and tomorrow you will encounter it. But it blooms forever in the larger dimension of your being, and tomorrow you will encounter it. I can descend from the sphere where the thing itself now lives, and as I descend in consciousness to a lower level within myself, it passes from my world. I say, I have lost my health, I have lost my wealth, I have lost my standing in the community, I have lost faith, I have lost 1,000 things. But the things in themselves, having once been real in my world, never cease to be. They never become unreal with the passage of time. I, by my descent in consciousness to a lower level, cause these things to disappear from my sight, and I say, they have gone, they are finished as far as my world goes. All I need to do is to ascend to the level where they are eternal, and they once more objectify themselves and appear as realities within my world. I have another way of praying. In this case, I always sit down and I find the most comfortable armchair imaginable, or I lie flat on my back and relax completely. Make yourself comfortable. You must not be in any position where the body is distressed. Always put yourself into a position where you have the greatest ease. That is the first stage. To know what you want is the start of prayer. Secondly, you construct in your mind's eye one single little event which implies that you have realized your desire. I always let my mind roam on many things that could follow the answered prayer, and I single out one that is most likely to follow the fulfillment of my desire. One simple little thing, like the shaking of a hand, embracing a person, the receiving of a letter, the writing of a check, or whatever would imply the fulfillment of your desire. After you have decided on the action which implies that your desire has been realized, then sit in your nice comfortable chair or lie flat on your back. Close your eyes for the simple reason it helps to induce the state that borders on sleep. The minute you feel this lovely, drowsy state, or the feeling of gathered togetherness, wherein you feel, I could move if I wanted to, but I do not want to. I could open my eyes if I wanted to, but I do not want to. When you get that feeling, you can be quite sure that you are in the perfect state to pray successfully. In this state, it is easy to touch anything in this world. You take the simple little restricted action which implies fulfillment of your prayer, and you feel it, or you enact it. Whatever it is, you enter into the action as though you were an actor in the part. You do not sit back and visualize yourself doing it, you do it. With the body immobilized, you imagine that the greater you inside the physical body is coming out of it, and that you are actually performing the proposed action. If you are going to walk, you imagine that you are walking. Do not see yourself walk. Feel that you are walking. If you are going to climb stairs, feel that you are climbing the stairs. Do not visualize yourself doing it. Feel yourself doing it. If you're going to shake a man's hand, do not visualize yourself shaking his hand. Imagine your friend is standing before you and shake his hand. But leave your physical hands immobilized and imagine that your greater hand, which is your imaginary hand, is actually shaking his hand. All you need do is to imagine that you are doing it. You are stretched out in time, and what you are doing, which seems to be a controlled daydream, is an actual act in the greater dimension of your being. You are actually encountering an event fourth dimensionally before you encounter it here in the 3 dimensions of space, and you do not have to raise a finger to bring that state to pass. The test of a teacher, or teaching, is to be found in the faithfulness of the taught. I am leaving here on Sunday night. Do remain faithful to this instruction. If you look for causes outside the consciousness of man, then I have not convinced you of the reality of consciousness. If you look for excuses for failure, you will always find them, for you find what you seek. If you seek an excuse for failure, you will find it in the stars, in the numbers, in the teacup, or most any place. The excuse will not be there, but you will find it to justify your failure. Successful business and professional men and women know that this law works. You will not find it in gossip groups, but you will find it in courageous hearts. You are already that which you seek, and you have no one to change but self in order to express it.